some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
This hour, because there's been a development in the search for Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie.
There are some puzzling new developments tonight in the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie.
Nancy Guthrie vanished from her home in Tucson, Arizona. A couple of updates. First of all, you guys remember last week, and I was kind of surprised by this. Sergeant Aaron Cross with the Puma County Sheriff's Office told me that he got word from a detective that NY's family initially thought she may have walked away from the house. That's what they were told initially, which didn't really make a lot of sense based on some of the other stuff that I've heard. Well, come to find out, Sergeant Cross now has basically a correction. He called me over the weekend and said he got some new information, that was different from what he had initially told me last week. So, I'm going to explain the significance of that coming up in this episode. I'm also talking to retired FBI agent, my friend Maureen O'Connell, about the latest on all of this and also, some new information about the possibility of the suspect or suspects going to Mexico, what she thinks about that. And there's also a new message from Savannah Guthrie. Just so sad. You think about what Anne's going through with Mother's Day. So, I'm going to get into the latest on all of it in this episode of Brian Anton Investigates. Hey guys, I hope you all had a good Mother's Day. Got to spend some time with your moms or with your kids. I got to spend time with my mom. It was really, really nice. A lot to get to in this episode though when it comes to Nancy Guthrie developments. Hard to believe it. It's been a 100 days. Savannah Guthrie posted a video yesterday with videos and pictures of her mom and wrote, Mother, daughter, sister, Nan, we miss you with every breath. We will never stop looking for you. We will never be at peace until we find you. We need help. Someone knows something that can make the difference. Call 1-800-CALL-FBI. You can be anonymous and reward remains available. Please keep praying. Bring her home. Now, in my episode last week, Sergeant Aaron Cross with the Puma County Sheriff's Office, he's also the union president. He told me on this show that he had new information from detectives that NY's family first believed that she was a walk away. And if you look back at that episode, you can tell that it surprised me because it contradicted what Savannah Guthrie said in her interview, and what I've heard all along, which was that the family did not think it was a walk away and that they were frustrated when there were people telling them, oh, she may have walked away. And they were like, no, that's not the case. Well, over the weekend, I heard from Sergeant Cross who says that he followed up with the detectives. And he says what they actually meant is that NY's family thought she may have had someone take her away on her own. And I asked exactly what that meant. And he said, they did not think that she actually walked away on her own, but instead thought maybe, she had some kind of medical issue and called an ambulance on her own. So he says what he said initially was not correct, and again that NY's family, did not think that she walked off but instead that she may have left on her own, and left in like an ambulance or something like that. And that lines up, with what Savannah Guthrie said in her interview with Hodo, which makes a lot more sense. Take a look this. Let me just remind you what Savannah herself said. She was in tremendous pain. Her back was very bad. You know, she was trying to, on a good day she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not. So, there was no wander off, and the doors were popped open. Yeah. And there was blood on the front doorstep and the Ring camera had been yanked off. Yeah. And so we were saying this is, do something. This is not okay. Yeah, this isn't something is very wrong. So, that explains some of the confusion. Sergeant Cross told me, he wanted to clear this up. So, with my job reporting, I've had to move all over the country. I lived in Florida. I grew up in Florida. Then I moved to Missouri for college, University of Missouri. Then I had my first job in Kirksville, Missouri, which was near the Iowa border. Then I moved to Savannah, Georgia for a reporting job. And then I moved back to Florida, several different places, in Florida. And finding a doctor, I found could always be such a pain. Making an appointment. It can be so annoying. You call, you get put on hold. Many times you even end up talking to someone in a call center. They feel so far away. I wish I knew about ZocDoc long ago. And ZocDoc is the sponsor of this video. You just go to zodidoc.com and there are 150,000 providers within 200 plus specialties in all 50 states. They're all over the place. There are verified reviews from real patients. So, it's not like other websites where you don't even know if the reviews are actually real. These are verified reviews. You can actually read about the doctors, and find one that is a good fit for you. And that's really my favorite part. Also, you can see appointment openings on the website. You literally just click to instantly book, an appointment. They're all right there on the site. So the days of calling like I used to, waiting on hold, having to call the doctor's office again and again. It's so much easier than that. You don't have to deal with it. You just go to the website. And appointments happen fast. Usually, you can find an appointment within 24 to 72 hours. There are even same-day appointments that you can find. So, if you want to get right in, you just see all the open appointments on ZDOC. And then ZDOC is totally free. It's easy to use and it costs you absolutely nothing. So, just scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description below or go to zdoc.com/Brian to make your doctor's appointment right now. And the bottom line is there are still a lot of unanswered questions though and things that are cloudy in terms of the first 24 hours after Nancy went missing. Because remember my source who I interviewed who's very close to the investigation, the source who I put in silhouette, the one who I changed his voice, this is from a couple of weeks ago. You can find if you want to look at it there, it's in an older episode. I'll put the link below, but he said the detectives were in fact operating under the theory that Nancy did walk off initially and he said that slowed things down overall in terms of the investigation right away. So, it's all still a bit confusing. But the bottom line is Sergeant Cross says the detectives he talked to clarified what he initially told me and said that the family thought Nancy had someone take her away on her own. That's the way he worded it, like an ambulance or something, like that. So, I'll continue to sort through all of that. Again, I know, that it's confusing. Also, New Fox Digital had someone asking Sheriff Nanos questions outside the sheriff's office. Which was kind of interesting. I think he was leaving for the day or going to lunch and they had someone out there kind of shouting questions at him and they asked, "Are you closer? Are you any closer to solving the case?" And it was kind of like an awkward moment, an awkward exchange, but he responded, "We are." And then he got into his Corvette, and he drove off. But he said, "We are" when asked if they were getting any closer. So, I thought that was interesting because my sources close to the investigation sadly have been telling me that they are not much closer, in terms of solving the case. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not doing a ton of work behind the scenes. I mean just working all day every day tracking down every possible tip. But I don't get the sense from my sources that they are getting much closer. Again, there are still tips coming in every day. There were thousands and thousands of tips initially and more tips that come in. And it's not a cold case, but it's just interesting that the sheriff said that they're getting closer. That's not exactly what I'm hearing from my sources. Hopefully that changes. I mean, it can literally change in a second. DNA evidence, a hot tip can come in at any moment. It could change all of that. But at this point, unfortunately, I'm told that there's not a suspect or one specific lead where they feel like they're closing in. Also, new tomorrow, which is Tuesday, depending on when you're watching this, the Board of Supervisors in Puma County will again, have a meeting and take up, the issue of the sheriff and decide whether they want to try to remove him. I'm going to get more into that in a bit, and sort of explain what's going on that front because it's going to be quite a meeting on Tuesday. But first, I want to share my conversation with retired FBI agent Maureen O'Connell, my buddy, where we talk about the latest on the case. Also, this possibility that Nancy could have been taken to Mexico or that the suspect could be in Mexico. This has come up now again. I'm going to explain why. Fox Digital interviewed a retired Lieutenant Dave Smith from the area of Department of Public Safety and who lives in that area, knows that area, and he said, "My personal theory, is if Mexico was suspected that would make it a federal investigation. There seemed to be a great deal of effort to keep the feds out of this case and the best way to do that was to deny any possibility of interstate or international transport of the person's body who was kidnapped." Which got me thinking cause I went to Mexico pretty quickly when I was there. I think within maybe 2 weeks to go check it out because it really is so close. It's like 45 minutes away. And I always thought it was interesting that they were so quick to say we don't think Mexico's involved. We don't think like how do they I wondered like how do they know that you know what do you think of what this former lieutenant is saying? I liked that interview with him. I found it very compelling and he knows the area. He knows it very well. He knows the hurdles you have to overcome in an investigation like this. He also talked about the high number of cases that do involve an actual walk away. So they probably didn't think it was if it was a walk away, then there'd be no need to look at Mexico. But that once that's ruled out, everything is on the table at this point with the blood trail ending where the vehicle would pull up.